morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, well, we've got a new Basculin card to talk about. And I'm kind of excited about this one. If you've ever wanted to play a Basculin Swarm deck, if you've ever wanted to play a deck where at least 4 of your 6 Pokemon are Basculin, I say at least, but you're not allowed to play 5. We've got the card for you, ladies and gentlemen, because Basculin's back, and he's bringing all his friends. So, our translation here is a mixture of myself on Google Translate and the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net. And as I'm showing you the new Basculin, I should also show you the promo Basculin, which is exactly the same in terms of what it does. The artwork is a little bit different. So with all of that borne in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at Basculin. If we start off having a little bit of a look at the basics, it's got 80 HP. And I mean, 80 HP at the moment, it's like, yeah, it's really low, but you can't use Professor Elm's lecture, so it's a little bit rubbish. It's got a retreat cost of 1, which is kind of nice, because it means you can use stuff like a skateboard to give yourself free retreat, and U-turn board, etc, etc. So that's all lovely. And the weakness to grass is honestly fine. I mean, you've got 80 HP, so it's not like you're going to be lasting very long regardless. But it's quite nice to have a weakness to something that just isn't coming around very much. Now, being a water Pokemon kind of... Well, look, we've lost Brooklet Hill, alright? And we've lost Aqua Patch. The thing is, you can see that both the attacks are for a single energy, so we don't really care about that. And you're hitting weakness against stuff like Reshiram and Charizard, or Blacephalon, or Arcanine, or frankly, ladies and gentlemen, any of those amazing fire cards that have taken to using Welder, so, frankly, it's good to be a water type right now, even though we've lost a couple of tricks. And honestly, since you need to swarm Basculin, I really, really want to be able to use Brooklet Hill here to get them out. Bearing in mind, we've also lost Nest Ball, and we can't play Professor Owl's lecture. Let's just say that in a format with Nest Ball and Brooklet Hill, it is a whole heap easier to start swarming Basculin than it is with what we're going to have after the rotation, which incidentally is when this is going to be coming out. But the first attack is our focus here, ladies and gentlemen. The first attack is what we really want to know about. And for a single colorless energy, this attack does 20 damage for each Basculin you have in play to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, maybe you've got a Basculin prized, or maybe you've had a Basculin KO'd that you can't recover, or maybe you run out of bench space. But to start off, what we see is 80 damage on a basic to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for a single colorless energy. That's ridiculous. We've seen a whole bunch of Pokemon lately that snipe for 50. And I've often said that sniping for 50 is a real pain in the neck, because when you snipe for 50, you're not taking out 60 HP basics. You're not taking out something like Inkay on the bench. It's kind of annoying, because that's really what you want to be doing here. Let's make no bones about that. You want to be hitting Pokemon on the bench and KOing them before they get rolling. I mean, let's say the new Talonflame, for instance, does 100 damage, discard an energy, and does 50 to the bench. And we see this a lot. There are a lot of Pokemon that hit 50 to the bench, and it's very deliberate. The reason these Pokemon hit 50 to the bench is because hitting 60 to the bench takes out pre-evolutions and gets a little bit sad. Here's the thing though, every so often you get something like Dugong. Now Dugong is phenomenal, and I make no bones about it. It can use triple acceleration energy, which is quite lovely, and Dugong for free colorless energy, you discard 2 of them and it does 60 to 2 of your opponent's bench. And that's kind of wonderful, because then in theory you're taking out 2 evolutions. Here's the thing though, what about those Pokemon that have 70 HP? I mean, we got Poipole in Forbidden Light and it's got 70 HP. And then we got Poipole in Lost Thunder and it's got 70 HP. So Dugong comes against a Poipole and they're like, oh man, that's too much HP, I can't KO that. Well, to go back to Basculin, Basculin can do 80. Most of the time, 60 will do. And 60 is free Basculin, which is nice because it means one can be prized, one can be stuck in the discard pile. Maybe none of them are in the discard, maybe none of them are prized, and you've just only got the cards at the moment that can search out 3 of them. But the point is that 80 to the bench is not something we can do terribly lightly. Now, sure, there's always Pokemon that can go completely over the top. I mean, Raikou EX, for instance, a little while ago, you could discard all the lightning energy and do 100. And we all know that Pikachu and Zekrom does 170 as residual damage from its 6 energy tag team GX attack. But generally speaking, 80 to the bench is lovely. Here's the thing though. Against some decks, it's wonderful. So let's say, for argument's sake, you're playing against a Naganadel deck, and with the new Naganadel GX, I do expect Naganadel decks to be significantly better when Unified Minds comes out. You're going to be able to sit there and take out their Poipole. And that's awesome. Because they have to take a turn to evolve. So this is single energy, basic Pokemon. As long as you can get your Pokemon out, you're going to get a KO on Poipole. But then they're probably going to evolve. But you've got one cheeky KO, so that's fine. The thing is, what you really want to do with Basculin is go, look, I'll take out one of them on the bench, and then they'll get evolved, so I'll have to bring in some kind of other Pokemon, a bigger, harder, heavier hitter. But then at some point, they're going to have to bench another basic, and whenever they bench another basic, I'm going to switch my Basculin back in the active and take it out. Switch Raft, incidentally, great option here. We don't have great switching options post-rotation, but this is a pretty good one for water decks. So what you really want to do is have something in the active chipping away, and then anytime they bench 60 HP, 70 HP, 80 HP Pokemon, you switch to Basculin, take it out. That's your goal here. The problem is, what if they've got too much HP? Because something like Naganadel, yeah, they're going to be benching the odd Poipole, but they're also going to be benching Nihilego. And they're going to be benching Buzzwole. And those are Pokemon you're not going to be taking out. They are Pokemon that are going to be able to withstand 2 hits. And the other thing we need to mention, and this is quite significant, this is only hitting benched Pokemon. Which means you're not taking out Pokemon in the active using weakness. So we should be able to go, Blacephalon, he goes down. Arcanine, he goes down. But no. Those Pokemon you're not KOing because you can only hit the bench. You need a partner with Basculin. And that's where my apprehension starts to come in. Because Basculin's at its best when you've got 4 of them out. But that only gives you 2 other spots for Pokemon. You can only have 6 on your field. And the problem is that you need to use those 2 other spots for every deck that isn't benching little Pokemon. Jirachi's everywhere right now, and you can just sit there and snipe Jirachi all day long and laugh. But politely, be nice, you know the deal. The problem is, what about when they're sitting there rocking 110 HP Zapdos? Or they've got a 240 HP Pikachu and Zekrom. And look, maybe you play this with Ultra Beast. Maybe you sit there hitting 80 damage to the bench, and you've got a Buzzwole, and you've got a Nihilego. Because the great thing about Basculin here, this is colourless energy. So it doesn't matter what you play it with. You can play this with literally anything, and you're absolutely fine. Now, there is a second attack here, but it's single energy 20 damage. Pre-rotation, I'd be going, well, look, Choice Band does 100, and if I can do 100 damage and be 2-hit KOing something like a Blacephalon for a single energy on a basic, I'm feeling good. And there's a lot of Pokemon that do 20 damage for 1 energy. And they've all just gone rubbish because Choice Band's rotating. With Choice Band, these Pokemon can 2-hit KO a bunch of GXs, and I'm in favour. Without Choice Band, I just sit there and go, what's the bloomin' point? But it's not about the second attack. The second attack might as well not be there. It's all about the first attack. And if you're telling me that for a single energy on a basic Pokemon, I can start picking off 80 HP or less Pokemon on the bench, I'm getting excited. Yes, you need 4 Basculin, and yes, it doesn't do anything about the active, and yes, your opponent might be benching bigger Pokemon. There are downsides to this, but there are also things that make me very excited, so I'm giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. I am absolutely convinced people are going to be testing this in tournaments, but I'm slightly apprehensive as to whether it's going to be fruitful. But I'd like to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, so please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/. patreon.com/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WhatsYPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.